Warhammer Underworlds is a highly customizable and expandable tactical system. It is made of different sets, each comes with all that you need to play the game and 2 factions. Today I'm going to review the Beastgrave one, but also I'm going to talk about the system in general. It is for at least 2 players that are fighting against each other using war bands of different types of creatures. It can be played by more players by combining more maps. Each set also comes with 2 double-sided maps and all the cards that you need to play the game. Now the miniatures, you may know I'm not a great builder of miniatures. I do not paint miniatures. I'm still gonna show them to you because I know the miniatures are very attractive for many people, but if you see how poorly mine have been assembled, you can see the places where I cut from the frame. I know, be patient. Again, imagine how well you're gonna build them, how amazing they're gonna look after you paint them, and that should make you feel better, still to give you a sense. Here the 2 bands is one is this sort of orcs, but their bosses look more like minotaurs. They definitely are brawlers, so we have some range units, but they are mainly heavy hitters. They also really like to see enemies being destroyed, and so they get inspired, we'll see what that means, when other enemy units are taken out of the battlefield. The opponents in this set are a mix of, well, there's the Centaur guy, very impressive miniatures. On one hand, even I can build it, so it's not that hard. On the other hand, again, yours will look better. And then we have this feral looking mammal, and then these elves that are sporting distinctive 1980s hairstyles, because that's what used to be groovy back in the day. Now the game. So players will, there's a procedure that players will use to select the maps, to place obstacles in terrain. Also, players need to build their decks. It's not exactly a deck building, but I would say a deck selecting game. And players can, in some cases, put together cards from one set to the other, because everything is compatible. The maps, the miniatures, everything is compatible from set to set. So we have victory point cards, objective cards. So pretty much you do what the card says and you will score the corresponding number of victory points. It's pretty much self-explanatory. If you pause the video, you can read some of these texts and you get the sense of what it means. This is a party of violent monsters. They like to spread out, charge the enemy, destroy stuff. It's very intuitive, very simple stuff. Now, when you fulfill the requirements of a card, you score victory points, which you record by using these tokens. Each victory point can also be used to buy an upgrade. When you do so, you flip the victory point this way. It still counts as a victory point, you don't lose that. This is simply a way of marking the fact that each victory token can be used only once per game to purchase an upgrade. And then we have cards that give you those upgrades. That is the symbol that indicates that, and here you have a description of what it does. You may have a description of the character that can equip that. And then we have other types of advantages, and again, it is when you play that card, do what it says and gain the corresponding benefits. So definitely a lot of variety, as you can use different parties, and within each party lots of customization with different upgrades and objectives. As for the characters themselves, each comes with a card, so you will have your miniatures on the board, your character cards next to the board, and the card tells us the movement value, how many axes can move, up to how many axes that can move. The miniature can move in a turn. Defense, it tells you both how many defense dice you roll, and in the background the type of defense that you have. So here's shield, here's dodging. And then health points, when you take that many ones or higher, the creature is eliminated. Here you have an indication of a condition that when met, will inspire the creature, the members of the party. An inspired creature that met that condition is flipped to this side, and then there are improved stats. But back to the basic idea, then we have an attack section. and some creatures have multiple attack lines. When you attack, you will choose which line you use. You have the range of the attack, the number of attack dice that you roll, and the type of symbol you're looking for. So here we have cross swords, so this one is the battle axe, and then the number of wounds that you inflict on the opponent when you hit. The game lasts 3 rounds. Each round, each player has 4 actions, and you use those tokens to mark the actions that you've used and the ones that you still have. Players will alternate taking actions, so I take an action and I mark that, then you go, then I go again, and so on and so forth. Each time that you take an action, you can activate one of your miniatures, and you can activate the same miniature multiple times with some restrictions, but the idea is that you could activate the same miniature 4 times, or in any case, a lot of times. After an activation is resolved, so activation and action, then both players get a chance of playing cards if they have cards that apply to that situation, and then you go to the next action. When all players have played 4 actions, the round is over. You repeat that for a second and third round, and at that point you score victory points and you determine who the winner is based on, of course, who has the most wins. When it is your turn to act, you can choose to activate your one of your units for movement, in which case after that you mark the unit as moved. You can choose to move and attack, and there's a token for that, the charge token. So you can move once per turn, you can move and attack once per turn, but you could attack multiple times per turn as long as you don't move. So for example, using range attacks. You can also put your character in Overwatch, that is, you spend an action to put a token that will give them an advantage in defense. When you're attacking, super simple. You roll the number of attack dice indicated on your card. Say if this guy here is attacking that one, for example, you roll that number of attack dice and you score a hit for each symbol of that kind that you roll. Also, it's a success if you roll critical successes. These symbols here indicate support. They can be successes if you're supporting the attack. Say if a friendly unit supports, you have one more support than the opponent, then that counts as a success. And if you have 2 or more supports than the opponent, that is friendly units adjacent to the opponent, then that also counts as a success. So you will roll your attack dice, but the opponent gets to roll defense dice based on their defense. And again, you may have regular defense. Say if you dodge is your defense symbol, that would be a success. If shield is your defense symbol, that would be a success. Again, supported success if you have enough support, and critical success. Pretty much the critical successes change or trump the regular successes, and the results are then compared. If the attacker has fewer successes than the defender, then the attack is a failure. If there is the same amount, the defender doesn't take damage, but the attacker may be able to push the defender. If the attacker has more successes than the defender, then the defender takes damage. The attacker successfully wounded the opponent, and you apply the damage that you are indicating here. There are other procedures like spells and other game effects, but in general, in essence, this is how you play Warhammer Underworlds. Warhammer Underworlds and Beastgrave in particular, the set that I showed you. But I could have showed you other sets because the general idea is the same. And that is great because then you really have a modular game with a lot of different combinations that you can create out of variety there. As I understand, if you play competitively in tournaments, they're going to have something like Magic the Gathering, that only certain sets are going to be valid for tournament for a period of time, so the game stays fresh. It also means, however, that you have to keep buying sets to play a tournament. But I don't go to tournaments, so I'm just happy that I have this game here. I have several other sets I can mix and match and create different confrontations. Once you get started with the game and you're familiar with the effects and the rules, the game plays extremely fast. It's a confrontation that does have a tactical feel. that doesn't feel too shallow, that definitely has some tactical depth, has some interesting decisions, and that plays in under an hour. So to me, that is pretty remarkable, that you can have non-symmetrical competitions with a nice range of effects, of upgrades, of surprises that come out of certain card plays, of maneuvers on the battlefield, of the way in which people will manipulate the battlefield to achieve their goals. There's just a lot of things that happen. There's a tactically rich battlefield in which you have a lot of different events, a lot of interesting interactions. Maneuvering really matters. You don't have the impression it's one of those quote-unquote I call fake war games in which positioning doesn't matter all that much. It's all about the die rolls. Positioning, maneuvering, out-maneuvering, studying the battlefield, weaponizing the battlefield when you push people where they don't want it to be. All of these things matter and give the game a really nice tactical flavor. And again, for something that you can play in under an hour, you can easily teach, to me that's pretty remarkable. There's good value in here. Replay value and just play value. The gameplay is extremely pleasant. The one thing that that I have mixed feelings about, and the people I played it with also, is critical results can be a little too powerful. In the great scheme of things, everybody will experience a time where you set up the fantastic attack, investing so many game effects, and you maneuver and you position everything perfectly, and the opponent rolls some fantastic critical defense results, and all that was for nothing. So we wonder if there was a way of de-emphasize critical success a little bit, of just having successes in attacks and successes in defense. Then you would have fewer swings. Again, everybody will be subjected to some of that, but maybe not so much. It's not a game where you roll dice 1,000 times and so the curve is gonna, statistically, is gonna pretty much absorb the eccentric results. Because, after all, you have 4 activations for 3 rounds, so you have 12 activations. So you're gonna roll your dice often enough, but 3 or 4 unusual die rolls can throw things a little bit out of balance. If that happens, well, you set up the game again. It's not like you play for 12 hours and then Lady Luck completely ruined your experience. You've been playing for maybe 20-30 minutes and you see, this is not gonna go well. I'm gonna concede so that we're gonna play again. It's a game that is so easy to set up and to play several times in a single session, that then you can just have, best out of 3, best out of 5 in 2 hours. As soon as if a player concedes when they see, this is not gonna go well, you can do best out of 5 in 2 or 3 hours. So that's pretty remarkable. So what you have here is a very simple war game. Some purists out there will not say this is a war game, but you're moving around, you're beating people up, you're killing people. To me, that this qualifies as a war game. But again, I say not just because of the violent theme, but because, again, the tactical depth that the battlefield develops. It's simple, it's fun, it has miniatures that many of you will enjoy even more than I did, because I'm not a builder or painter of miniatures, but I can see when a miniature looks good and increases or enhances the feel and flow of the game. Warhammer Underworlds. I showed you a set. There are many more sets to try and combine. They all share the game system, and it is a game system that personally I find pretty fun.